So let's hit on this lightning round.
Okay.
Let's get through a couple quick questions, and we'll save some more exciting crypto talk for next episode.
All right. So some questions that I think some of you out there might be asking yourselves. Why does money have value, Mr. Kevin?
Yeah, and so this kind of goes back to the early part of the episode, but money has value because we perceive that it's valuable, right? If you and I believe that our $20 will get us food at the grocery store tomorrow, and everyone collectively believes this, then it will, right?
Mhm.
And as long as that belief exists, money will be valuable. It's worth mentioning, though, that as that belief system begins to change over time, um, different monies can become valuable, right? We've just talked about all these different forms of currency over time. And yeah, I mean, paper and precious metals, even cowrie shells, right? These are still valuable to us over time. And so it's not that Bitcoin or any new crypto is going to just completely, decimate every previous form
Yeah,
of currency. But money has value because we believe it does. And over time, we can believe that different things have value.
I see. All right. And we kind of touched on this one earlier, but was Bitcoin the first digital money? I think I know
Yeah,
the
it's a good
answer.
question. So again, separately from the PayPal, Venmo, US dollar side of the phrase digital money, there were previous attempts to create,
Like
global.
autonomous money. Yeah.
Exactly. A couple examples include DigiCash, B Money, and eGold.
Never heard of
But
any of those,
essentially,
dude.
yeah,
Uh,
you don't need to. It's okay. Essentially, the important takeaway from this is that Bitcoin didn't just come out of nowhere. Computer
Eagle.
scientists have been trying to solve this problem for a really, really long time.
I see. Okay.
And Bitcoin introduced a way to solve the problem of essentially creating a currency out of nothing.
I see. Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Why doesn't Bitcoin make great money?
I love this question because it's a little bit loaded and it's easy to scoff at it when you live in Europe or China or America, where you have a really strong currency that's very stable and kind of utilized in the global economy in a very significant way. Simply put, the dollar is better than Bitcoin. It's a better medium of exchange. It's a very solid store of value, and it's an amazing unit of account. So, yeah, right now Bitcoin isn't quite at the point where it makes sense to use it over dollars in your day-to-day transactions. But that doesn't mean there aren't situations where Bitcoin can be more stable, even as a medium of exchange or a unit of account, in places where the economy is in really bad shape or the currency's completely fallen apart from inflation or various other issues. Like Venezuela is the example that a lot of people will bring up, but I think we mentioned it before, that dystopian picture of all the cash in the streets and the person with the wheelbarrow, and the wheelbarrow is more valuable than the actual currency that's on the street because it's, the bills are just meaningless. They're beyond less than pennies. So it's not quite there yet. It's a new technology, but it might be. And in some real life use cases, cryptocurrencies are already doing that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Did I hit it
Yeah.
right,
And
Kevin? Did I miss
I think
anything?
so. Yeah. And I think it's also okay that Bitcoin is just a store of value at this point,
Mm.
right? It
Yeah.
doesn't need to immediately check all three boxes: medium of exchange, store of value, unit of account. It can be a store of value and still be extremely useful for society.
Mm.
So just because that hasn't really, m- reached all of those other aspects of money
Hmm.
doesn't make it any less important. So another question: isn't centralization valuable when it comes to money? Isn't it, useful that I can call Chase Bank up if my house burns down, or
Yeah.
if I lose my wallet with my credit card?
This is another good question. And I think one of the biggest barriers about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin when newcomers talk to me about it and they're afraid of the technology because they don't understand how it works. There's definitely an ease of use and peace of mind that comes along with the customer service element of these traditional centralized financial institutions. Absolutely, that is a benefit, but that doesn't necessarily take away from the benefits of decentralized financial institutions like cryptocurrency as well. Both of them have benefits and trade-offs. Cryptocurrencies have this nature of there's no single force that you're trusting with your money. It's this beast that we keep talking about that exists through this decentralized network of many, many machines all around the world, all working at the same time to support the network and reinforce its integrity, so to speak. That example we talked about earlier in the Great Depression of the run on the bank, that's the kind of stuff that our grandparents and great grandparents actually lived through, where that everyone's heard those stories of the great grandfather that passed away and they were hiding money in old cigar cans in their basement because they thought that was safer than risking putting it with the banks. We really take that banking security for granted. So there are definitely some benefits, but there's also some potential drawbacks as well, even if we haven't realized those risks in our recent lifetime.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
All right. So one of the last questions here, and this one might be a precursor for something else to come, is Bitcoin inflationary? Because that's one of the things I hear about with currency so much, like the US dollar. Inflation's gone up. I got a raise. It didn't even match inflation this year. Does it ever deflate? Do Bitcoins disappear? What happens in this whole realm?
Yeah, so Bitcoin is not inflationary like the US dollar. You'll hear a lot of people say that it is deflationary, and they're sort of correct with that. I think maybe a more accurate term is that it is disinflationary. And so, taking a step back, inflationary means the supply of the currency continues to increase, like the US dollar.
Okay, we make more
deflationary.
of it.
Deflationary means that the supply decreases over time.
Okay, so money disappears. We take it out of circulation. Okay.
And Bitcoin as disinflationary means that it is inflating at an ever slowing rate. So similar to the mining of gold, over time, it is harder and harder to mine Bitcoin. And we mine less and less over time. And so over the next 100 years, the amount of new Bitcoin will continue to disinflate over time. The reason why I say that it is somewhat accurate to say that it is Bitcoin is deflationary is that at the end of the day, people lose their Bitcoin, and once Bitcoin is lost, there is no way to get it back. And so effectively, it creates the system where we are slowly inflating it, but over time, people will lose their Bitcoin. And so that sort of can be summarized as kind of a deflationary currency.
Damn, dude, you're such a nerd, and I absolutely love it. That's such a granular breakdown of. I mean, I can see the difference in what you just described. I'd probably have to hear it again to be able to recite it back to you on a pop quiz. I think it's worth the delineation. It's just pretty funny. That's some deep shit, buddy. All right.
Yep. And I'm excited to get even deeper next episode. We'll be talking about Bitcoin. We'll be talking about Satoshi Nakamoto. We'll be talking about white papers.
All right.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one. So we're, each episode here, we're taking a little step further down this hole, and we're just ramping up, folks. Trust me, we've got some really exciting stuff to come. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, and make sure you find it on all the platforms. We're on Spotify, we're on iTunes. You can find it on YouTube, youtube.com/ZaoriTV, and you can find just the RSS to put into any of your podcast type players there at Zaiori.tv/podcast. So thanks for watching this episode of the New Blocks. We'll be back again next week, and we'll be talking about Bitcoins. We'll see you then.
See ya.